welcome to the MMA Heat podcast. I'm Karyn Bryant.
What's up, guys? Alan Jouban with you as well.
Hey, so we are back from working UFC Vegas 12, and I don't know, folks, hopefully you tuned in, because Alan was up there at the desk with me and Rashad, and I think you did a great job. I want to ask you, what your take on it was, because it's been a minute since you were at the desk with us.
Yeah, it was, first of all, I had a blast. I've been telling everybody, but I'll tell our viewers, I felt so fortunate for the circumstances that I got my opportunity at the desk, because not only was it an Anderson Silva card, somebody that, I was enthusiastic about, it could have been a fighter that I didn't know that much about and would have made a difference on how I told the story or, my emotions. But then to work with Karyn, we've obviously got chemistry and been working together forever. And Rashad, who's such a pro and a guy that I've always looked up to as well. Mm-hmm. And he's so easygoing. It was just a good crew to have, us three. There were no egos. Everybody was kind of on the same page as far as what we thought about the fights and who we liked and whatnot. So it was a blast. But it was so much fun for me because being there, I kept getting those like fight jitters, right? Because I'm in the hotel, I'm at the fights. But I kept reminding myself, like, holy crap, I don't have to cut weight. I don't have to make that walk right now. I get to go and analyze the fights with you guys, and we go cut up in the back and go back to the hotel room and order in and chill and enjoy it. So it's a fun thing. It was an enjoyable experience, and I'd love to keep doing it. I really enjoyed it.
Well, one thing I want to tell people about, which was kind of crazy. So at the beginning of the show, we have our IFBs in our ear, and this is something where, I'll get instructions from my producer. He'll say, hey, I have a whole rundown and I write my script and everything, but a lot of time they'll call an audible. So sometimes they're in my ear and they're saying, hey, Karyn, I know we were going to run this graphic next, but instead let's go to the interview with Dana or something. So I'm used to hearing voices in my head while I'm talking. I could be literally talking to you right now and somebody would be telling me something to do.
Right.
But you guys don't usually get that much in your ear. You usually just get somebody telling you to like rap or, move on, or you're going to take the lead on this highlight. But so at the beginning of the show, if anybody was tuned into UFC Live, so we're in the UFC Apex and they're still working out a lot of kinks and bugs. There used to be a production truck outside where they do everything, but now they're using the control rooms in the building. And so there's a lot of the things that don't work all the way quite well yet. So literally the show started. I'm like, hey, welcome to UFC Live. I'm hearing Led Zeppelin blaring in my ear and a guy going, checking the microphone, front of house, is this microphone on? Checking 1, 2, 3. And I'm like, hey, everybody, welcome to the show. Checking the mic, 1, 2, 3, and back of house, is this thing on? Led Zeppelin cranking. And so in my head, I'm like, oh, crap, I really hope Alan and Rashad aren't hearing this because, like I said, I'm used to hearing a lot of noise. But even I was like, come on, man, like, how am I going to get through this? But then you guys were, in fact, hearing that, too. So if anybody saw the beginning of the show, I need to applaud you guys for handling that so well because it was a total cluster F going on in our headsets.
That was rough. Exactly what Karyn said. It was Led Zeppelin in one ear, and then somebody mic checking the other ear, turned all the way up to 10. And Karyn was setting us up, and she was handing it to Rashad. And I'm looking at Rashad I was thinking, is he hearing this? Because he's talking pretty good. And I'm looking at the cameras, but I'm trying to look at the producers and kind of be like, and then I did my thing and I was just trying to talk over it because I couldn't hear what I was saying. Right. And I think for the most part, it wasn't our best work, but for the most part, we didn't destroy it. Like people couldn't really tell, but it went on for a good 8 minutes. It seemed like, and anytime they would kind of cut to like a single of me, I could see Karyn and Rashad, and they were like, signaling to the producers like, yo, there's a band playing full blast in our ear right now. We can't hear anything else. So that was gave me a lot of anxiety.
Yes.
But it was also I kind of love things like that because you get thrown to the sharks right away.
Right.
And you go, okay, I survived. So I can survive the high pitched sound or the person communicating to me while I'm talking, telling me what's next.
Right.
Because I just survived Led Zeppelin and a mic check at the same time for 8 minutes or whatever it was. That was a wild beginning to my audition.
Well, yeah,
my first show.
Exactly, and that's what I was thinking. I was like, oh man, this sucks. Like, It's Alan's first time back here in a long time, and we have this whole nightmare thing going on. And I was nervous that it was going to throw you off, so I'm glad that it didn't. But then, yeah, like I'm looking, so it would cut to you and Rashad, and then I'm looking at our stage manager Manzo, and I'm like, "There's somebody jacking," and yeah, and Rashad was air guitaring and stuff. Because at first I was like, man, when did we get Led Zeppelin for like our theme song? That's dope. Like I was like, they don't. Wow. And I was like, oh wait, no, that's not it.
And I was thinking like, are they just gonna continue playing it while Karyn's talking? Like I thought it was our intro, but it kept on going the entire song.
Yeah, and then we actually had some other technical problems. And if folks were watching the first version of it live, so we had some tech problems. We were off the air for a little bit, and again, I was stressing out because I'm like, this sucks. Like it's the first time Alan's back, and we had all these technical difficulties. So then we did UFC live, and then we did our pre-show, and then we circled back around and did UFC live again. Because for the reruns of that. So yeah, you got trial by fire. So I think it was a great thing for you to prove that you could hang. So good job.
I survived. Yeah, I earned my stripes, like they said.
Yeah. Well, anyway, as Alan said, it was emotional for us. The three of us all have special feelings about Anderson. He means something significant to all of us. So we'd be lying if we didn't say we were kind of hoping for him to go out on a win, or at least on a high and on a great performance. I don't necessarily think it was a bad performance, but Uriah Hall did get the victory, and I know that it was a very significant win for Uriah. This is a man that he said was his idol, that turned into his rival. And so it was a big deal for him to beat him. Uriah was ranked number 10 coming into this fight. So he's now on the records. He's got 7 knockouts in the middleweight division, I believe. So I think he's tied for second most now with that. You can watch my After the Facts video to get all the bonus info on that. But it's a tough call on this one, Alan, right? Because Anderson likes to counter people, and you know that, so you're going to be a little hesitant to be throwing stuff. So maybe it wasn't the highest volume fight, but it was very strategic.
And Anderson's always had a way of dictating the pace a lot of times. That's why Chris Weidman was the first person to really have good success on him, because you remember his coach yelling, "I want you to punch a hole in his chest."
Right.
And he just said, go forward and throw the combination. If he's there or not, throw the combination. You'll land one of them. But most people, Anderson toys with you so much with the feints and the hip movement and everything going on that you don't know what's about to happen, if he's setting you up or if he's just stalling you, trying to keep you off guard. So he makes other people become counter fighters as well. And so sometimes it becomes a dull fight somewhat. But also a big part of it is, Anderson's been doing this his whole career, but Anderson's a southpaw fighter who has a tremendous lead hand counter. Uriah Hall is an orthodox fighter who has a tremendous lead hand jab offensively. So they're playing that lead hand game, and so it kind of nullifies their jabs, which are 2 of their biggest weapons. So you take away 2 of their biggest or most used weapons, and then it became a lot less arsenal and ammo being thrown during the fight. But you said like it was a slow fight, like you said. But when we were watching it, like, if I went back and I remembered, I think we gave Anderson slightly the first.
Yeah.
I think Uriah won the second. Anderson didn't do much in the second round. I think that one, it was very few punches at all thrown, but Uriah kind of followed him and led the dance.
Yeah.
Number 3 was a close fight halfway. Then Anderson landed 1 or 2 shots that looked good. Then he put Uriah Hall on the cage, if you remember correctly, and was winning that round. He had Uriah Hall, had the cage control, stuffed against the fence. With about 30 seconds left, he broke off. And they got into an exchange, and he got dropped right there. Uriah Hall threw their right hand, hit him back the head. Uriah stole 3. And at that point, I started to kind of lose hope. And I think all of us up there at the desk kind of could feel what was coming. Because once you get hit in the back of the head and you go down, and you're 45 years old, it's going to be tough to recover, especially at the bell. It was at the bell. So it was good for him to have that 1 minute. But again, what I'm saying is, he only had 60 seconds to come back out and try to weather the storm. And it was kind of the inevitable, which ended up being the inevitable at the end of the 4th round. But up until then, I thought he looked good. It was just like you said, Karyn, very strategic. There wasn't an all-out war, obviously.
Yeah, and you're right. Uriah, Anderson took the first round on all the judges' cards. And then I believe Anderson got 1 judge gave him round 2, but the others gave it to Uriah. But then, then it was Uriah's, and then he did get the finish. It's tough because we were talking about this before we started recording this. I guess Dana was kind of critical of Uriah. And like I said, he was number 10 coming into this fight. And Anderson presents certain kinds of problems, right? Because Uriah was scheduled to fight Jacare earlier this year. He was scheduled to fight Yoel Romero. And I think those would have been very different kinds of fights, obviously. So I don't know if it's fair to like harsh on Uriah too much. And I don't think, I don't know how much of, at first if he was hesitant because he's like, holy crap, I'm in here with Anderson. I know DC has said that you do kind of get this, holy crap, look who's across the octagon from me thing. And I don't know that was happening at all. I think it was just Anderson was having that round. And like you said, he does this thing with the hands and you're kind of confusing you and you don't really know what's coming. And I can see how it would take some time to get your timing down with somebody like Anderson. But I'm not here to like harsh on Uriah's performance. I don't think it was a bad performance from him. I think it was fitting the opponent,
You said it. That was what was in my mind as well. There could have been more, but it's a dance. It's a dance. And if one guy is slow dancing and you come in there and you're popping and locking, it's going to be something off. And Anderson was slow dancing. Anderson came in and was feeling him out, throwing little feints, not really pushing the pace, letting Uriah take the center of the octagon. Anytime Uriah started to look like he was going to pull the trigger, Anderson would feint a little bit, move around, circle out, throw a touch, a feeler now and then. Uriah would have had to break that pattern altogether and just say, I'm going to commit and expose myself and take the chance of getting countered right here. But otherwise, it's going to be that type of fight. It really takes two to tango. I mean, that's where it comes from. You can't have two people dancing two opposite dances. But yes, Uriah Hall could have done a little bit more, but he was playing to the speed and the energy of Anderson Silva. I thought that Dana was a bit harsh on him, but I know that to defend Dana, this is what Dana said. If you guys knew how much we paid Anderson Silva, you would lose your mind. And so that tells me that, if he just handed Anderson Silva a buttload of money, a couple $1 million for an unentertaining performance, which in one round there were only 7 punches thrown, right. I get it. He's not happy. It didn't do great numbers, I guess, like it wasn't tremendously exciting. Right. And you pay him a lot of money. And it didn't go his way, which Dana White also said, I didn't want Anderson Silva to fight in the first place. He didn't want that fight. He even said, I take responsibility for him getting knocked out because I didn't want him to fight and I allowed it. So it was my fault. So you can see Dana, although maybe emotional and although maybe critical of Uriah Hall, I think it's also like us. Mm-hmm. He's got emotions built up and past and history with Anderson and all these things going on. And so he feels a bit responsible that he got in there, hurt his legacy a little bit more, paid him a bunch of money. It was kind of semi-unentertaining from the bigger picture aspect of it. But I thought Uriah did what he had to do. He could have gambled more, took more risk, made it a little bit more entertaining. Might not have gotten the victory, but would have made Dana a little bit happier. But he did what he had to do, made the smart move, got the W, and now he is able to say, look, I'm a top 10 guy who just beat a legend, and now I want to call out bigger names like a number 5, Yoel Romero, or number 1, Izzy, and he's in that conversation more than he was a week ago.
Yeah, I hope Uriah gets a good fight, and I actually would like to see him fight Jacare. I think that could be kind of interesting, or if it was Yoel Romero. I hope he gets a good fight after that. And because he's just been doing great stuff with Fortis, and he's really coming along. And I think he kind of had a rough go of it, right? The media, a lot of people really have given Uriah a hard time over the years, and call him a head case or this or that, or he's not living up to his potential, and blah 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 blah. And he's had to deal with a lot of negativity. And so I really do applaud him for being able to get through that, survive through that, and find who he is and really define himself. And all the features and things we were running on the show, like just talking about how he found the right coach, and once he found Seif, they clicked, and it's great. So I personally am really looking forward to seeing what's next for Uriah. We know Anderson will go into the Hall of Fame, and I don't want to see him fight anymore. I know there was a lot of weirdness if it was the end, or if people rumoring that he'll go fight somewhere else. I hope not. I hope not. And he seemed to, in his social media today, he put something out on Instagram. He seemed very, he was thanking everybody for their support and all these things over the year. And it seemed to me that he was okay with the decision, for it to be the end. And we saw him spend a lot of time in the octagon after and really taking everything in. And that actually was hard to watch too, to just see somebody summarizing their life, that was so much of his life. And I really do feel privileged to have been there and watch that. Whatever people think about Anderson or his performances in his last whatever fights, he's been just such a significant figure. And I think it was special. But I hope it's done. And he seemed to be saying a true goodbye there. Guess we'll see if it sticks.
Anderson is also one of the few guys that we had the whole GOAT conversation. We had the GOAT conversation on this podcast last week. We had the GOAT conversation on this show when we worked the desk. And most GOAT conversations, we look at the career in a whole. Mm-hmm. Anderson, I feel like we get to look at him when he was in his truest form, in his prime. Right. Excuse me. Because when you look at these last 5, 6, 7 years, and you look at the results of whatever the record was, losing 6 out of 7, you can't really include that. You can't include that. You know that he was past his prime. He was coming off of that horrific leg injury, and he was just doing it because it's in his blood, it's in his system. But he wasn't trying to be there, or maybe he was, but we didn't see him as like, this is who he is. This is an older Anderson that still wants to compete because that's who he is as a fighter. But he's one of the guys that you have to take coming into the UFC at 32 years old or whatever it was. He came into the UFC, not a young man, 32 years old, beat Chris Lieben, took the champion from Rich Franklin, and then went on a 16-fight or 13-fight tear. That amount of time for that many years, that was the golden era. That was Anderson Silva's career. The second half doesn't really count. It's Anderson Silva that you're fighting, but this wasn't Anderson Silva. Like Mike Tyson before and after jail or something. It was two different people. Right. So I look at that beginning stages when I'm getting at. It doesn't help his legacy when he loses, but we know when he was in his prime, that's the guy who was one of the best in the world.
Well, I guess we should ask our fans and if they put Anderson on the GOAT list or not. I mean, that's a good question because I agree with you. I think he has to be up there. He has to be. He's one of the greatest of all time. And the thing about it is the reason that we think that John is so great is because John built off of things Anderson did and is that kind of fighter. The holy crap, did you see that stuff? And like Anderson is the blueprint for that. So to me, he's got to be on the GOAT list. But I understand that some people have some issues with that. So I would actually love to hear from our fans if they put Anderson in the GOAT list in the top 5 or anything like that, like where they have him, and if not, what are the caveats for that? Because. And again, like you said, maybe it's people who just got here, and if you only just got here, let's say the last couple years of the Khabib era, and got here for that, then you missed a lot of amazing Anderson stuff. And it's a real shame that you missed it, but for us, and you and me, and Rashad was his contemporary for a long time, like for us, like I distinctly remember going to Anderson fights and all these things, and they were the biggest deal. Like there was nobody bigger.
It made me fanboy out again. I went watching his old fights in preparation for us to do this desk job. Right. You got those same chills for the walkout. You got those same chills when he was doing his antics inside the octagon. He's a one of a kind, and he brought something that was different. And I love that you said you brought up John Jones, like took stuff from Anderson. Yes, like I was trying to name some of them during the desk show, right? And I couldn't remember them. But in my mind, a lot of stuff, the oblique kick that John Jones is known for, Anderson's been doing that. Mm-hmm. What about the shoulder bumps that Conor McGregor became famous off of? Anderson's been doing that. Yeah. What about the hands down in the middle? Come, like right here, Max Holloway. Like Conor McGregor just with his hands behind his back or stuff like that. Right. Israel Adesanya waving you on. These are all things that Anderson was doing back in the day, and we were like, "Whoa, shit! What's he doing? This is crazy! I've never seen this." Yeah. And now we see all these new stars that make it their own, but they got bits and pieces of it from him. So he's a legend. In my mind, he will always be on that GOAT list. Yeah,
he's incredible. We kind of got some interesting conversation things. I feel like now that we're talking about John, we may as well stick with this conversation that Israel Adesanya might be fighting him. Israel was at the fight, and he and Kevin Holland were getting into some stuff. Kevin Holland, the first guy to get 4 victories in 2020, so congratulations to him. But, Israel was talking after about, he said he's going to be champ squared next year, and so it's been announced that he will fight Jan Blachowicz. And but then it seemed more that he was talking about the biggest fight ever, and that to me, in all of us, seemed like it was going to be John Jones. And then we're kind of debating, like, well, what weight class? Because it seems like John's going up and everything. So I don't know if that's going to happen. I mean, I guess he's fighting Jan, but if we saw Israel, because we saw Israel versus Anderson already, I don't know if we're going to see Israel versus John. And if so, what is it going to look like?
That was a very interesting and misleading interview that he did with Megan. Like, it was funny because we're watching that when Izzy is announcing the news, seated down with Megan, and she didn't know either. He's like, I have a big fight. We worked it out. I'm gonna be the champ squared. Okay, we're like, okay, so double champ, so different weight class you're fighting in, going up in weight. You've been jawing with John Jones, teasing this fight for a long time. It all makes sense. And then he even said, and Megan wasn't catching on. She was going, well, could you clarify? He was like, I tweeted. He goes, it's going to be the biggest fight in history. Raiders Stadium, Cowboy Stadium. We're going to make the biggest fight in history sometime early next year. Me, Karyn, and Rashad are like, biggest fight in history. Got to be John Jones and Izzy, 2 of the biggest stars in the sport right now. And they have the most heated rivalry.
Right.
No, it's Jan. It's Jan. Like, we find out hours later, which Jan is the champ. So champ square does make sense.
Of course.
And Jan is the man right now. But Jan just doesn't have the fan base or the legend status that some of these other guys do. John Jones is on the GOAT list. John Jones is either 1 or 2 on everybody's GOAT list. That is why he would be one of the biggest draws.
Right.
Jan has not gotten there yet, so he would not be one of the biggest fights in history. Anytime you're doing 2 weight class champ versus champ things, it pumps it up.
Yeah.
But Jan just got the belt. It's not like he wiped out the division, and so now they have to face. So I was kind of let down, to be honest, when I heard it. I was like, crap, they're already doing it? Like, Jan just fought.
Just got it, yeah.
So we'll see, man. I mean, it's exciting. Jan's a big puncher, big body for Izzy to go against. That's going to be, I think, a tough one. But if Izzy feels confident, then I feel confident. Because I'm not going against Izzy anymore. I made that mistake against Blachowicz.
Yeah.
And he proved me dead wrong with a flawless victory. And so he must see something. When he sees Jan fight, he must see something in there that he says, man, I'm faster. I can get in and get out, and I'm going to use my footwork, and I'll pick this guy apart until I bleed him out, and then I'll take him out.
Yeah, I do remember being over on Fight Island for that fight card when Israel won and Jan Blachowicz won. And one of the 2 of us on this show had picked those 2 title fights correctly.
It's a 50-50 chance. I mean, you got to hit something if you shoot. You know what I mean, Karyn?
Anyway, the legendary Polish power is a real thing. So, but yeah, it's tough to go against Israel. I did think Jan was going to beat Dominic that night, but the interesting thing too, the way he was kind of misleading us in that interview is because he said, "Oh, it's somebody I've been having kind of this beef with on social media," and that's been all about Jan and Israel. Yeah. So Jan is like the most polite guy. I can't imagine Jan Blachowicz getting in a fight like with anybody on social media. He's the nicest guy.
Jan just started chiming in like a week ago. He was like, I hear Izzy wants to fight 205. I'm ready. Right. Like, that was it. Like, where him and John are like taking it way overboard, like with talking about just family and your upbringings, and like that was the fight to make.
Right.
But again, it did make sense when they cut back to us at the desk. I was like, so wait, they made that fight. John just said he's committed. He just gave up the 205 belt. Right. He just went up to heavyweight instead of putting on weight. Why would he now fight at 205? Right. It doesn't make any sense. So I guess, it was just misleading how we took it. But nonetheless, will be a fun fight. I just think that John Jones is the inevitable biggest fight in history.
Probably. I think so. Well, I want to ask your opinion on the co-main event. Bryce Mitchell versus Andre Fili. Bryce was number 15 coming into this fight. And he's on a tear. He's now, I believe, got like the second longest active win streak. Volkanovski and Arnold Allen, I believe, have 7 wins. And I think Bryce now has 6 or 5. But he's doing really great. And we kind of thought this one was going to be not necessarily a turning point fight, but a real proving ground fight. Because even though Andre isn't ranked in the top 15, and he's fought Calvin Kattar, he's fought Max Holloway, he's fought Yair Rodriguez. It's so much experience coming from Alpha Male. Such a great team. So I did think it was going to be a big test, but Bryce is the real deal.
Hold up 1 second.
Ew. That was so gross.
Sorry about that.
That was so gross. He's spitting the
boy.
interview with Megan, folks. If people didn't see that, he's hocked a big one in the middle. I was like, oh.
Yo, live TV. My boy Bryce Mitchell said, "Hold up." Spit out a loogie, cleared his throat a couple times,
gross.
and just kept on rolling. We were losing our minds. It was so funny. Karyn was a bit grossed out.
That was.
Country boy right there. Bryce Mitchell. I can't say enough about him. You know,
Yeah.
It's fun because we have to kind of pick on those shows.
Yeah.
They gave me Touchy Fili because I'm more familiar with Fili. Rashad got Bryce, and Rashad actually really does like Bryce.
Yeah.
And so I had to kind of promote Fili, and I really did think that Fili was going to give him. I thought Fili was going to be too much for him, to be honest. I didn't think, like he just said. I thought Fili's got really good wrestling, wrestles all the time. Bryce is phenomenal jiu-jitsu guys, but you see those jiu-jitsu guys that go against wrestlers and they can't take them down, and all of a sudden their powers are stripped away, and then they have to fight and stand-up fight, and Fili's a beast on the feet. Bryce Mitchell took down Fili within the first 30 seconds of the fight, stayed on top of him. Every time he took him down, he advanced into mount within about 5 seconds.
Right.
I'd never seen, it was just like, I couldn't even see what was happening. He would just take him down and end up in mount. I don't even know how he slides in there so naturally. It's just part of his algorithm, the way that he moves. He gets you down, he moves into mount control, he holds on to you, looks for submissions, looks for twisters. But then even when he was on the feet, he was landing on Fili more than I thought he would, for sure. And in keeping Fili at bay by kind of feinting low, Fili would kind of protect the takedown, and he would touch Fili upstairs again. He looked great. I mean, I'm a fan of Bryce. I already liked him, but seeing him perform in person, breaking it down, seeing how well he did against elite level competition. Look, Fili may not be in the top 15, but you just said it. He fought everybody. He's a beast. Doing that well against somebody. After the fights that night, Karyn, I went back to the hotel, and one of his buddies walked up, and I was grabbing some food. Yeah. And it was a cameraman, and his cameraman buddy.
Oh, yeah, I met him too. I met him. He's a really nice guy. Yeah, I met him.
Super nice dude. Right. I'm blanking on his name. His name was like a confusing name, but
it's a funky name. It's like it starts with a K or something, but it's a funky name. But yeah, real nice guy.
Super cool guy. But this guy, I thought he was with the UFC. I thought he was embedded. No, this is Bryce Mitchell's camera crew. Right. Okay, Bryce Mitchell, country boy from Arkansas, has been having a camera crew for years. I didn't even know this. Okay, so this guy is his buddy. They were roommates at one time. Right. Bryce was the best man in his wedding. And they've been taping a documentary on Bryce Mitchell since his very, very beginning stages of fighting. And this camera crew has been going around and documenting it. And I thought it was brilliant because Bryce is becoming a star right before our eyes inside the UFC. And he's unlike anyone else. And he's so genuine and authentic. If you like him or don't like him, but it's like he's authentic and he's a character. And I was telling his buddy, I go, man, this is so smart of you. Obviously, this is what you do. But like, I was like, I remember when Conor came to the UFC and he fought and he became a star overnight. And all of a sudden, they had documentary footage from 3 years ago. Where someone was smart enough, the UFC or his people, to say, let's get a camera crew and document this journey from the beginning because it's going to turn into something. This guy's got something. Conor McGregor, that footage became UFC property. They bought that, and that later on became a movie out of them. And so, like, capturing time, capturing growth, capturing history, it's always a great decision to go back in. Bryce Mitchell might be fighting for the belt in a year or two from now, and we're going to have footage of him fighting in the cornfields from 3 years ago, and it's going to become something useful. So he was a great guy, but shout out to them. Shout out to Bryce Mitchell and his whole crew. Great people, and he's the real deal, folks.
Yeah, it's funny because while we're saying goodbye to Anderson and seeing the end of an era, like you're saying here, the next superstars are always coming. So it's been cool for me because I met Bryce on The Ultimate Fighter doing Tough Talk. And this kid, the first time I think he Skyped in, we're like, that boy country, right? But like we loved him. He's so unique. And then all the things that have happened to him, and didn't he's the one who shot himself in the right with the staple gun or the whatever.
Oh yeah.
Right? Yeah, like he's a full on character. But we loved him from right away on Tough Talk because he was just like, who is this guy? How can you not like him? He's just very entertaining, really fun to talk to. And then of course, yeah, he could fight like crazy. So I agree. Like it's been fun for me to watch his progression and to see this kid rise. And because he is, I think, undeniable. I agree. I wouldn't be surprised if he's fighting for the title in a couple of years, or maybe by the end of next year. Even I mean, who knows? I mean, he's at 15. We'll see what the rankings put him. Where they put him and what gets shuffled. Featherweight is just a very tough division right now. A very, very, very tough division. So there are going to be some people who probably will outstrike him at some point and stuff, but he seems, we weren't really sure because we know Andre is a great wrestler, as you said, and Andre was able to defend some, but I think he got like 7 or 8 takedowns. So, Bryce is very, very, very good. It'd be interesting, like, what if they put him with Ryan Hall or something like that, or, I don't know. I'm just saying it off the top of my head, but I'd be curious to see what happened there. I'm really excited though to see Bryce. And he is putting Arkansas on the map, and I don't know, it's hard. It's hard not to like that kid.
He would say in every interview, they would ask him about the camo shorts, and he would say, it's what I wanted, and it's it's part of my legacy. Like he sees camo, that's like his legacy.
It is, yeah.
He's camo through and through, and you saw the videos that they would show. He's got his coach geared out head to toe in full camo. So
right.
I know if we ever go hang out with them, what I'm wearing some full-on camo for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. But like I mentioned, Kevin Holland is the first one to 4 victories, so good for him in that one. I was happy to see Alexander Hernandez get the win. That was in the feature prelim against Gritzmacher. So Alexander, I had seen him over on Fight Island a lot because he was there. He's now a Factory X guy, and he was over there. Luigi Vendramini was fighting, and also Brendan Royval was there and stuff. And so Alexander was just talking about making the move to this new gym, and he was so excited and so focused. And from everything I ever heard about him, and I met him, a couple years ago anyway too, but that he was always a very dedicated, focused guy that lived, breathed fighting, that you had to kind of talk him off the ledge sometimes. Like he would just study it all night long and just train all day. But anyway, I'm glad that he's got glad that he found success with his new team. I thought he looked really good, and we were saying before, like sometimes we've seen him in a fight, if it wasn't going his way, you could kind of see him maybe, I don't want to say break, but like, wow, I'm not winning. Right. Now what? He seemed to be better at when he was winning, and now it seems like and I don't know that there was any point that he wasn't winning in the fight with Grits, but I'm happy to see him sort of back on the horse and looking forward to seeing what he becomes, because he hit the scene with such big promise, and then he had that setback against Cowboy, and the fight with Drew Dober didn't go his way in the end. But he's somebody that I feel like maybe we set the reset button on him now, and I'm looking forward to seeing what comes next.
I like how you put it. Yeah, he's a reset fighter. I agree. He never, like you said, never was in any trouble of breaking. But I'd say he just was so good at being the hammer. And then if he was starting to become the nail, he's like, oh shit, I'm a hammer. Like, why am I getting hit now? And you can kind of see a bit of panic in his eyes.
Right.
And he was good at it until he started getting beat and hit back, and then I think he was coming on too strong at first, too aggressive. And then if it wouldn't put the guy away, then he didn't really know what to do, because he gave him his all already. And if the all can't put him away, now we got to slow it down, and they get to gain momentum back. And in this fight, Chris Gritzmacher, who's a fantastic, tough fighter, I think Alexander Hernandez, out of the entire card, stood out the most to me in my eyes. I'm talking about the most flawless victory that he could have had as an individual fighter, and his coaches could have asked for, to say, look, you don't want to be the hammer, you don't want to be the nail, fight that 85% the entire time, fight smart, use your footwork laterally side to side, use the jab, use the overhand after the jab, throw the low kick now and then to keep him guessing, put him against the cage, everything that he did was just like how you want them to do it as a coach. Keep them guessing,
Right.
hands up, good footwork, find the kill, put them away. End the story. The man deserved his 50G bonus. Looked phenomenal.
Yeah, he looked really good, and I do think we need to mention our buddy Rashad ran down at one point to go corner Greg Hardy on the main card. He's been working with him. You know, Greg left American Top Team. Didn't really feel like he was getting the coaching. Speaking of, you know, getting the right coaching, that's definitely the theme with Uriah. Definitely seems to be a nice theme with Alexander. But yeah, he wasn't getting the coaching that he wanted. And, you know, we were talking to Rashad about this, and he was saying, look, you know, Greg's an athlete. You know, obviously he was very successful in football, and he's an athlete. But there were just some things in the concepts of MMA that he just wasn't getting. Like, he was just kind of taught, hey, throw this jab and do this, but he didn't understand the why behind a lot of stuff. And so Rashad has been working with him on the why and the building of the strategy and the putting of the pieces together. And he said that he would be, you know, coaching Greg, and he would show him something, and then he said you could see like the light bulb going off, like, wait a minute, coach, wait a minute. You mean the thing that you showed me over there is step A? Then oh shit, like, you know, he was like, oh, I get it now, like the aha moment, you know, for Oprah there. So I am actually curious to see what will develop now with Greg, because we did see him kind of struggling a little bit with cardio. You know, he had to cut weight to make the limit. We were like, that is a lot of junk in the trunk. That is a big man. Yeah. And so I think there were times, especially when he was doing some work on the ground, that it seemed to me you could really see Greg thinking, okay, what am I supposed to do here now? And okay, pace yourself and do this. I felt like you could kind of see him thinking through some things. So maybe a couple fights from now, it'll be more fluid. But I do think that he is going to improve a lot with Rashad helping him out.
I think so. You know, meeting Rashad for the first time in person this weekend, what jumps off the page out of all the good things I could say about him, mentor. He's a great mentor. He gave me help at the desk. Gave me little things to say, look, man, when you're doing this, don't mess this up. I was like, thank you, man. Like, he didn't have to do that. And when I think about we trained together and what he told us, me and you, Karyn, about what he's working with Hardy. Yeah. I'm like, man, this guy's a coach. This guy's like a mentor. He's got that in his blood. He's got that big brother personality, Rashad. And I couldn't think of a better person when you have a big, strong Hardy who not everybody wanted to even deal with at first. Different gyms felt mixed feelings about him coming to the gym, and he's got so much to learn so fast because he's already at the highest level. So he's learning on the job right now inside the octagon, and he's looking phenomenal. He's getting better every time. But like you just said, it becomes subtle. Once you learn so fast, then the second half or the third part of growth becomes a lot smaller, fine-tuning. You don't get these big growth spurts anymore. And he's hitting that stage now where he's asking these questions, but why am I leading with the jab? What is the reason that's fainting? Why should I rest here and not here? And these are the areas that Rashad is an expert in. An expert. Rashad has been there, fought the best, different weight classes, won the title, lost. The last pick on the Ultimate Fighter to win the Ultimate Fighter heavyweights, become the 205 champion, knock out Chuck Liddell, and get a nice little bonus, he told us as well. Right. But Rashad, I can't say enough good things about Rashad. I can't say enough good things about how I think exciting it is for Greg Hardy's career. He's the guy that you have to have your eyes on right now. His one fight that he lost recently to Volkov.
But he went the distance.
You saw what he just did, and he's an assassin. That could be a rematch in a year that we might see something different. But he looked great. He and I even saw one part in the fight where Hardy was on top in half guard using one of the moves that Rashad was telling me that he worked on with him. Yeah. And that Rashad did to me. So I was like, this guy's a sponge right now, absorbing it all.
Yeah. Well, and I should say, because, you know, whenever we talk about Greg Hardy, there are people have their feelings, like you were kind of alluding to, about his past. And I don't want to get into all that, but Rashad was telling us, and, you know, people can do their own research. I didn't look all this up, so I'm just repeating what Rashad was telling us. But he said that a lot of there's more of the story coming out about what allegedly had happened between Greg and that woman, and that there is police tape, supposedly, of the police coaching this woman what to say, and that, you know, that I guess she's admitting nothing really did happen, but that she was coached for this. Again, I'm repeating what Rashad was telling us, and I have
Yeah.
not looked it up myself, but I know people do have special feelings about Greg. And so maybe that's something they want to look into. And, because Rashad was saying that it's something that he carries around and everybody talks about it all the time. And if he's innocent, that would suck to have that always brought up and talked about you and to carry that around. And so maybe this new evidence is coming out that is going to exonerate him. I don't know. And I'm not commenting on what he did or didn't do, but supposedly now Rashad is saying that there is some tapes with clarification.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
I like, and not to make light of a serious subject, but I like the way you set that up. You said what allegedly had happened was.
Well, I mean, I wasn't there.
It's just like what had happened was.
Yeah, what had happened was. What had happened was. Hey, what had happened was that you just were talking about it a moment though, because I really wanted you to train with Rashad. Like I said, every time somebody comes new that gets to work at the desk, they go train with Rashad, and it's like this life-changing thing. So he and Anthony Smith really bonded like over the first course a few times that we worked together. And Anthony is going through a tough period in his career with a few losses, and Rashad has been there, and those two like for hours would stay and talk and like really bond and break some stuff down. And I know that Anthony really was thankful for a lot of the wisdom that Rashad imparted to him. I remember watching Rashad and Chiesa go through some things, and Chiesa all of a sudden would do this, and Rashad's like, well, if you just adjusted that to this, mind blown, right? So what did you get? Because I know you were like fired up to at least spend some time, and you said you guys really were on the same wavelength, huh?
It was the same thing. Like we got into the training room, and we were kind of warming up, and all of a sudden Rashad just comes into like a pummel position, So I was like, okay, we start pummeling. Next thing I know, he shoots a takedown, I shoot a takedown. Two takedowns, and we just started flowing for rounds. The next thing you know, I was like, you want to get the gloves? I was like, you got gloves? Put on the gloves. Next thing we know, we were just at the same pace where we were just flowing and moving, and neither one of us had an ego.
Right.
And then we were like, when I get some jitsu, take the gloves off. Next thing we know, we're flowing.
Yeah.
And he was really good. I could tell I did like a half guard sweep to him one time. He might have given it. I don't know. But we were flowing. I swept him in half guard. Next time he got in the same position, he adjusted what he did, what he probably normally likes to do. And I felt the power. And the whole time when I was thinking, my stomach, he was putting so much weight on my intestines. My stomach was making this weird ass, like he finds a way to put all his weight like right on your stomach cavity. And I was like, my stomach was screaming, and I was like trying to act like, ain't nothing, my stomach's growling, but it was like doing something weird. But I was thinking the entire time about when Chael Sonnen fought Rashad Evans.
Yeah.
And Rashad got on top of him and ground and pounded him pretty fast, I believe. And I think the ref stepped in and stopped it. And Chael Sonnen said, look, I'm a wrestler. I get on top of people. But I have never felt that kind of pressure with somebody on top of me like I did with Rashad. That's another level.
Right.
And I was thinking about those times. I was like, God damn, this guy's got my stomach making crazy noises and stuff. I get what Chael was talking about.
It's cool though, but I'm excited for that because in a couple weeks you're fighting. And this was one thing that I also really wanted you guys to roll together, just because I thought, it's been a while since you fought. And I thought, just go with somebody different, right? Because obviously you have great training partners all the time. But this could literally be like, oh, you're going with somebody you haven't never rolled with. And this could be like how you're going to be in a fight with somebody you've never been against, right? So I thought it would be good for you to just kind of step outside your normal mindset for a second with him. But also I was really hoping, while you were there at Apex, that you could, go walk the walk a little bit, get the vibe. And so I think that did help you, right? To be there just a couple weeks before your fight.
Invaluable. I mean, it was 100%. Just absorbing the energy. My first time even going to the Apex since it's been open, walking up onto the octagon. They didn't let me go inside, but I walked around it like a ring card girl in my dress shoes. But I was able to kind of get my bearings to go there and say, okay, this is north, south, east, west. This is red, blue corner. I know where I'm coming out of. I know where Bruce Buffer is going to be standing. Yeah. Those kind of things. It makes it less of a blur. When you my very first fight, it's like everything's blurry and this crowd yelling and this and that, and your corner's yelling, and you're like, whoa, like one of those dreams. That's how your first fight is. And the more experience you get as a fighter, there's my corner, my wife, I see my wife, and it becomes more. And now when you get to this highest level, what you like to do is you get in the octagon and you look and you say, oh, I see Brian Ortega over there. Oh, I see Nick Diaz, Dana White sitting right here. I got to make sure I get that knockout and look at Dana White. Okay, where's my family?
Right.
You just feel comfortable and at home. Like you say, all right, this is my octagon. This is my cage. I'm aware of everything. And then I have clarity when I'm able to strike and know what I'm doing. And so that helped me achieve that before even stepping foot inside the octagon.
Well, and I'm just excited too. I actually think having no crowd is going to benefit you on this one because it's been a minute since you fought. I actually was thinking about that at work the other day. I was like, you know what? I think this is good because you'll be able to hear all your coaching, and you'll have that comfort of it. I think it's going to be a good thing to not have a crowd this time, if I'm honest.
I think so too. I felt the energy, and I felt like I get to just go to work now. I get to just go to work. I don't have to worry about all the other stuff. So I'm fine with it.
I'm excited. Well, also this past week on Thursday night, my good friend Gegard Mousasi got his title back over at Bellator. I know we watched this one together, and while it wasn't the most exciting fight, and while I kind of thought it would be more exciting than it was definitely a methodical win for Gegard. And he did say at the end that all those low kicks from Lima they did hurt him, right? He said, "Oh no, I had to have a full-on poker face at the end of this thing, like." Those things did hurt, but I knew in that one that he was going to be too big and strong. And when he first right away he was able to get the clinch, get him down, and do a lot of go to work on him with grappling and landing some ground and pound. And it did kind of seem like one thing that they were saying when they were announcing it was like, oh, I wonder if Lima's trying to take him to the later rounds. And it did seem like maybe that was sort of a strategy, but not like a great strategy. Like, hey, let me get four rounds down on a card and then try to knock out a dude that's only been knocked out once, basically by like Uriah's spinning head kick. You know what I mean? Like, or whatever. So I didn't think strategically that was smart. If that was their plan to try to go later and but again, I'm happy for Gegard. He's a real good friend of ours. But yeah, I too was sort of like, oh, okay. I thought there was gonna be a little bit more action in that fight.
Yeah, it wasn't the most exciting fight. And really, the post-fight interviews between both fighters summed up the fight. Gegard said, those kicks hurt me. Yeah. And I'll be honest, I kind of underestimated him. I didn't think he was gonna be that tough and kick that hard and everything. And we're like, yeah, exactly. And then with Lima said the same thing. I think I waited too long. He waited too long. And we were like, yes, you can't wait to the second half of the fight. You have to go by at least half, you know what I mean? Which is halfway in the third round. It reminded me of the Lomachenko boxing match that was a week or two ago. Lomachenko, best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. Right. And he waited in the 12-round fight to like the 7th round
you can't do that.
To turn it around. And then from there, he won almost every round except for the last round. But it's like, at that point, you have to finish him because if you win every round, you're still losing, and that's what happened. Lima started coming back in the 4th and the 5th, but it was too late. Mousasi's just such a smart enough and a good enough fighter that even with his leg very badly damaged in the 5th round, he's still able to land that takedown, lay on him, and just say, look, let me secure this victory. But you can see it. Mousasi was surprised with how good Lima was.
Right. But you can tell, too, that's also that veteran experience, too. I think that was... I want to say his 43rd victory or 44th victory or something. He's only got like 7 losses. And we were talking about this before, that most of those losses, if not all of them, he was able to avenge at some point. Yeah. So the dude is legit. I know a lot of time, I did an interview with him the other day, and there's always comments like, oh, I can't believe the UFC let him go. And believe me, I think it sucks too, because it would be really cool to see him still in the UFC fighting a lot of the great guys that we have. But hopefully they, get him some good defenses over there. He does want to fight more frequently and stuff. He knew, he doesn't want to keep fighting forever, but I know he was saying, he would love to fight. I think he wants like at least 5 more fights or whatever. So not all within the next year or whatever, but he the coronavirus has really been obviously a damper on a lot of people's careers. And for those like Kevin Holland and Bobby Green and stuff like that, who have been able to really take advantage of the Apex, a lot of people in the UFC are getting a lot of work, but Bellator hasn't had as busy of a schedule yet, so a lot of those guys are kind of behind and trying to catch up and make their money and stuff. But, it was tough when he lost to Lovato and then Lovato vacated. So, but yeah, happy for Gegard to get that back. Now, speaking of middleweights, Thiago Santos, former middleweight, who obviously is up at 205 now, gave John Jones a hell of a fight, but then had some knee injuries, had to have surgery and all this stuff. He's back. He's facing Glover Teixeira this Saturday. And Glover's a guy with, we talk about Anderson being older. Glover's up there too, but this man has still got it. Like, he's still got it. And maybe it's because of his style, but he is still incredibly dangerous, so powerful. I'm really excited, though, to see Thiago Santos back in action because he's so good. And I feel like he's just been gone forever.
It seems like he's been gone forever. I mean, he injured his knee a good bit before me.
Yeah.
We're both. He's fighting about a week or two before me, before I come back. So I've been gone for a while. So, but he had obviously in that fight with John Jones, 5-round fight, tore his knee in every ligament that's possible. Finished the fight, gave Johns a hell of a fight.
Yeah.
Looked phenomenal with 205 going against Glover. Glover's like meat and potatoes type of guy.
Totally.
Like, I'm good everywhere. I don't make mistakes. I don't go for big flashy stuff. I'm going to get in your face. You're probably going to hit me, but I'm going to hit you back. I'm going to go to the body. I'm going to take you down. I'm hard to put away. Thiago Santos is a big hitter and an explosive fighter.
Yeah.
So these are the kind of fighters that sometimes are hit or miss with Glover, because Glover, like I said, he's kind of a meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
If you have something spectacular in your back pocket, you might land it on Glover. If you don't take him out with that, you're going to piss him off, and he's going to be coming forward the entire fight. And so that's the kind of thing. Santos is good. He's not like a one hit or miss type of guy, but he's an explosive type of guy where he might come out and zest Glover right away, or it might rock Glover. Glover recovers, and it becomes a real dog fight for another 4 or 5 rounds. So it'll be entertaining to see that matchup, but also, like you said, keeping an eye on Santos's performance after 2 to 3 years off in the octagon.
Yeah, and again, it could be one of those things where the no crowd will help Thiago as well. Maybe that'll help him feel more comfortable and less nerves and less jitters, as opposed to walking out with a huge crowd and everything matters. I mean, now that we know that Jan is going to fight Israel, I still think this is the number 1 contender fight, I mean, it has to be, I would think.
Yeah.
So
with these two guys, I mean, 2 big names. And
because Reyes already lost to Jan, and so then we know that. So I would think the winner of this would be the next person in line.
It's interesting, too. I know we're talking about 205, but 85 as well. With Izzy committed to this super fight, it kind of, normally that would hold up the 85 division. But Dana said that for some reason, former champion from of 85, Robert Whittaker, that Robert Whittaker said no, that he did not want to fight Izzy just yet. I don't know where that interview came from, but I don't know if you saw that. But Dana White was kind of slamming Robert Whittaker, saying that you would think after that performance, Robert Whittaker would be calling out Izzy, but I talked to him, and the guy doesn't want to fight Izzy. So there's that. So I gave Izzy the super fight. So with that being said, though, it kind of frees up the rest of the division. Uriah Hall's trying to move up. If it is true that Robert Whittaker doesn't want to fight Izzy just yet, wants another tune-up fight or something, that does make more room for matchups in that 2 through 10 part of the 85 division, while Izzy's over there fighting Jan, and then we have the number 1 contender with Glover and Silva. Yeah,
well, I didn't hear that bit about Robert.
I didn't hear it either, but I saw Dana saying it. I don't know where he heard that, though.
I would just say my gut instinct would be that Robert just wanted some time between the fights, because that was the whole thing, is he had been completely burnt out before and then took that long break, and that was the whole point. So when he came back this summer against Darren Till, he was reinvigorated, and he told us all in the fighter meetings about falling in love with the sport again. And so now for him to fight twice on Fight Island in the course, he was there in July and then he was there again in October. I think now, he said in the post-fight interview, he was like, I just want to go home and set up my Christmas tree, which I was like, pump the brakes. Because pump the brakes, it's way too soon for Christmas. But that he is a family man. He's got 3 children already, I believe, and a 4th on the way, or if not 4 children already and a 5th on the way. He's a family man. And literally my gut instinct and gut reaction when I hear that is that he just wants some more family time again, and that downtime to keep the love alive for the fight game, because the whole point was that he got burnt out by fighting too many times too frequently.
Well, first of all, you didn't set up your tree yet?
Hell to the no. Hell to the not. Do not disrespect Thanksgiving. Do not disrespect
I'm,
the greatest holiday that we have in America.
I'm joking. Me and my wife are so bad at like traditions and thank you cards and we gotta teach our son these things, babe. We can't forget about like putting up decorations and shit like that. But no, you made a great point. To be honest, that's probably what it was. You know, the UFC doesn't like to be told no, and so
Right.
if they did offer Robert the fight, they might have said, "Look, we need a big fight at the end of December," and Robert
Yeah, or
might have been like,
February. February's too soon still, I think.
because like it blew my mind. Because wow, in my mind, I'm like, why would Robert not want to fight Izzy? Like fighters
Right.
aren't scared of fighters, and if you're number one and the champ is ahead of you, and you want to revenge that match, and you've been looking great, that's exactly what you want. But it has to be at the right time and the date and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so I assume they might have rushed him into it. And so what you said makes perfect sense. They gave him something that was too soon.
Yeah.
He said, "Look, I'm not ready to fight until maybe mid or early next year."
Right.
And he said, we're going to take that off the table." And he said, "Let's do the super fight." And so that would make sense. That would make sense. I'd like to hear Robert's reaction to that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a huge Whitaker fan, though, so I'll just patiently wait to watch him fight. Like, he's awesome. I think he's awesome. So
you, like you said, you fight two very tough fights in Fight Island,
right?
Which is you're not driving to Vegas and driving back.
Right. He lives in freaking Australia and stuff. Like, it's a schlep.
It's a big deal. You go there, 2 weeks of quarantine, yada yada yada. You come home, it's like chill. So I get it. It makes perfect sense that he wants some time.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I don't know if people understand that. To get back to Australia now, you have to take a 2-week quarantine upon returning to Australia. So that means he did it twice. So he spent a month in a hotel after fighting. Yeah, so Israel did that as well with his team when they were there. And so Israel is back in Vegas with his teammate Carlos Ulberg, who's fighting on Contender Series this Wednesday. Carlos was over in Fight Island as well. So after they all went back home from Israel's fight, they spent 2 weeks in the hotel, right? So Israel's fight was September 26th or whatever? So they spent 2 weeks in the hotel in Australia. Now they came back to Vegas like a week ago. Carlos will fight on Wednesday. When they go home to Australia, that'll be another 2 weeks in a hotel. So it is a massive commitment. And Israel doesn't have children, right? Carlos actually has a son. I believe he said a 10-year-old. Is it a daughter? I don't know. But anyway, Israel, it doesn't have children. So maybe, whatever. I'm staying in a hotel for a month. It sucks, but I got my video games and I got my homies here and we're training every day. Because they all were training if you look at their social media. But for Robert to be quote unquote home in Australia and then sitting there in a hotel for a month with his big family and all that stuff, like that's gotta suck.
Hell no, that's horrible. I go to Vegas for the weekend and I'm like missing my family. 2 weeks in a hotel and I can't go see you. That's rough.
Right.
Is Izzy married or have a woman or?
I don't know if he's dating anybody or what, but to the best of my knowledge, I thought he was single. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like he's such he's got swagger. He's a man. I feel like we would be seeing him like Michael Blackson, like with women all over his Instagram all the time, or like Luke Rockhold.
I think he keeps his private life private. Like I don't think he's trying to flex out there and impress people with just a bunch of whatever. Like
I guess I'm not mad at it. I just feel like I thought I would. I don't ever see him. I've never seen him with a picture with a girl.
There's no way he's not getting it. Let's just put it that way.
I feel like he keeps it on a very, very low or something because you think he would, a lot of these fighters, the champions, they've got their wife and they don't show all these husband-wife pictures, but they have their wife at home or they'll show some. But Izzy's a single man on top of the world right now who's dancing on the cover of video games.
Yeah, I don't think he's. I don't think he's lacking.
Like, where's the women and all the stuff that you normally see accompany that?
I don't think he's lacking for the company of the ladies. I don't think so. I get the impression that he's living the dream right now, and he's maybe just not needing to show everybody about it. He's not taking the Colby pictures with the hands barely touching the girls.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I agree. I thought about that the other day. I was like,
right.
Is he married? Is he like, what's the deal with him? He's just, You don't see that.
But as a woman, I gotta be honest with you, I kind of like it. Like, yeah, okay, fine. We know you're getting all the TNA you want. Like, I get it. Like, I don't know. I kind of like that it isn't out there.
Because I always thought about this about Conor, and I know like there's been these rumors about Conor doing stuff, but like in all honesty and seriousness, like Conor's been with someone. They might have just gotten married or whatever.
Yeah, they've been together forever.
They've been together forever,
Yeah.
and I felt like that very much helped Conor, because if Conor was a single man doing his thing, the star that he was, and the people trying to take advantage of him, and the late night knocks on the door in your hotel rooms, he wouldn't have been as focused. But he had a girl, a woman, his baby mama, everything, someone who's been with him from the get-go. And I feel like as wild of a person as Conor is, that helped keep him grounded. And so, yeah, I don't know. I just always think, like, where's all these girls? Where's all these pictures of Izzy at the club?
I think Israel is just a more grounded person anyway. Like, I think that having gone through a lot of the stuff that he went through in his past or whatever, like, it's just, I think he's just different. I think he's very mature. I think he's just got a lot of things kind of figured out and doesn't, you know, I'm not saying this guy never flexes. I mean, you see him flexing with the clothes and the cars and things like that. But I think I always got the vibe around him that he knows what really matters more and just chooses to focus on that stuff. That's what
I'll go with that. I didn't have a point. It literally, I've been wondering it for a while. And then I saw, like I said, I saw Luke Rockhold took a picture with like 8 girls. And I was like, damn, this dude is just out here just snipering. You know what I mean? Like,
like I said, to me, it's a breath of fresh air to see somebody not with a bunch of hoes. Like, look at me. Like, I know.
I knew you were going to come back on that one. Yeah, I don't know. I thought I was.
Luke can do Luke. I'm not trying to hate on anybody, but I'm just saying it's refreshing to see a champ that's just like got his brain on. Right.
Look, he's showed me some beautiful girls, and I think he bought himself a Ferrari or something.
Yeah.
Izzy, he's got some cars. He's got some good stuff going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so I'm heading back out to Vegas this weekend. I'll be working with Dominic Cruz and Angela Hill as we work the Glover Teixeira, Thiago Santos fight. And then, Alan, you're in action in just 2.5 more weeks now, right? Well, you'll be heading out for your fight with Gooden, Jared Gooden. And so that's at UFC 255. So folks make sure they're going to have to watch that one. You're on the prelim card for that one. So that one will be available to everybody free.
Yeah, I think I'm one of the first fights. Yeah. I was kind of offended. I was like, I haven't been the first fight of the night since my pro debut.
Right.
But that's what happens. You lose momentum. I had an L my last fight, and I've been out for a while. Got to start. And, it helps when your dance partner. If you're fighting a big name, then it makes it exciting. But I'm fighting a debuter.
Yeah.
And everything else that I just said. So, I think I'm one of the first fights of the night. So if you guys want to watch, it's free, baby. I bring you the fights for free. You sit on your couch. You put on ESPN. You grab you a cold one.
Yeah.
And watch the Brahma do work.
Absolutely. Well, and the cool thing is what I told you as well, is that just because the card says that this week doesn't mean that's what the card is going to be on fight night.
Right.
We know that a lot of things have happened in this age where some fights fall apart and some fights come back together and then things get shuffled around on the card. So just because it says that now does not mean that that will be your fight position on fight night. But speaking of fight night stuff, I think I just saw before we recorded here that the Dirty Bird, Tim Means, stepped in to fight your former opponent, Mike Perry. I actually really like that fight. The Dirty Bird can scrap. I think that fight could actually be a fun brawl.
Yeah, I think it's a good matchup. It doesn't, to me, equate to with the matchup that they had.
Obviously, Robbie's Robbie. But
right. You can't replace Robbie. But it was just like Robbie versus Mike was pure violence.
Yeah, totally.
And then Means is a scrapper.
He's violent.
But I was like, damn, like I was kind of hoping it was going to be like a bigger name. No disrespect to Tim Means. But yeah, I was kind of hoping they're going to throw a crazy one out there.
Right.
And what's his name was calling for it as well. Who's the 2.0? Chimaev.
Chimaev, yeah.
Was saying, and somebody else, maybe even Neil Magny or Chimaev.
Yeah, well, Neil Magny wanted to fight Chimaev, but that's
them too. I can't remember. Oh, I'm sorry. The guy that just fought. The deal was probably already done. When we find out about these fights, usually the deal's already made a week ago. But Kevin Holland.
Oh, right,
Holland, after
yeah.
his fight, was saying, you know, I'll jump in and fight Mike Perry in 2 weeks. So
Yeah,
I thought
because
that
Kevin
would've
said
been a more
he could drop
interesting-
down to 70, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, well, cool. Anyway, if you guys want to follow our producer, his name is Wade Eck. You can follow him on Twitter and on Instagram. For me, Karyn Bryant on Twitter, KB Heat on Instagram, and you can subscribe to the Karyn Bryant channel on YouTube, as well as, of course, MMA Heat across the board. Alan, where can people find you?
And me as well, guys, at Alan Jouban, all my social media. I can't remember any passwords, so I keep it very simple.
Awesome, folks. Yeah, very nice. So cool. Well, thanks for checking out the show. And these are also available for audio downloads at mma.audio. So thanks for checking everything out, and we'll see you next time.
Take care, guys.